other thing interesting from comparative genomic study is the evolution of the XY and ZW. So showing on this slide is a current sort of like hypothesis. So if we compare different organisms, showing here are the birds, platypus, kangaroo, that's the marsupial, and the humans stand for all the like mammals, mostly like true mammals. And we can see if the ancestral state showing on this slide actually have different sets of chromosomes that we only show in 3 parts. One is the chromosome is a pair of autosomes with one particular sex determination factor, which is the sex determination factor in birds, that's the DMRT1. And the other set is the chromosome with SOX3, and that's another sex-related genes. And the rest will be all the other ordinary autosomes. Then the evolution of the ZW system start with the ancestral autosome with the DMRT1 locus. So that's the hypothesis we have so far, and there's more to discover and to sort of like try to understand. And the evolution of this pair of chromosomes in the bird lineage and several other lineages result in the ZW system, as we shown here. The linkage between the ZW and XY and how these two independently evolved was inspired by the study on the platypus. So when the platypus genome was sequenced, and the research group immediately found out there are multiple sex chromosomes. So in platypus, there are several pairs of sex chromosomes. So that means they have multiple X and multiple Y chromosomes. And one of the XY pairs contain the DMRT1. So that is like when you look at the paper or also the sort of like the news on this study, they say the sex chromosome in platypus is more similar to the ZW system in birds. That's based on the findings of the location of the DMRT1 locus in one of the XY chromosomes in platypus. Compared to that, in human, we already talked about we have differentiate SOX3 and SRY on the X and Y chromosome, and that's in the human lineage. And it's very similar to the situation in marsupials. So the hypothesis illustrated in this slide is the one they think there's an evolutionary switch of the ZW system to the XY system, like divergence between the platypus lineage and the human lineage, the ancestral lineage of human. And they also think, although we can see similar features of the sex chromosome, but it seems the sex chromosome can be easily evolved independently in different lineages. So this is sort of like the current view of the sex chromosome evolution using like the comparative genomics approach. There are sort of like some discussions or concern about this hypothesis is because we don't really understand the sex determination in birds that well. So although DMRT1 seems important for sex determination in chicken, but whether they are, so I think the important part is we want to discover the other genes related to the sex determination in chickens and probably understand the sex determination pathway even better before we draw the overall conclusion. But this is what we currently think, and also a lot of people talk about the sex chromosome in platypus and the sex chromosome in birds. Another evidence about the ZW and XY system is in close related lineages. You will find one species use the ZW system, the other species use XY system. So that also another evidence to say the switch between the two type of sex chromosome systems could be rapidly. So the close related species could use totally different the sex chromosome systems in terms like which sex is heterochromatic, right? They are all like ZW, ZZZW, and XXXY. The difference between the two is which sex is heterochromatic. And there's another evidence from a single species. So there's a single species in frog. They use both ZW and the XY system, but in different populations. So it's even more close related. So the populations of the one single species is even more close related to what we say the close related species. So that also in agreement with the consensus, like the system, the XYZW system can switch back and forth very quickly.